News at 10 begins with breaking news.
Well, we are tracking severe weather in Southeast Louisiana, giving you a live look at our mobile forecast center right now, driving through Tangi Parish, where we did get several confirmed tornado reports within the past few hours. Actually, looking at the Tangi Parish Sheriff's Office page, where they're showing reports of trees down throughout the parish, but fortunately, no structural damage at this time. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Charisse Gibson. So the severe weather leaving thousands in the dark tonight. Many of them are contained in Tangi Parish. Last check, more than 8,500 out in Tangi Parish. The Entergy is reporting more than 8,500, not 8,000, 8,500, and in Livingston Parish about another 2,000. So combining that to more than 10,000 power outages in the areas that have been impacted by these storms. We have a reporter that is driving around the Tangi Parish area as we are seeing more reports of several reports of downed trees across the parish. But again, according to the Tangi Parish Sheriff's Office and Sheriff Sticker, they're saying that they're responding to calls with their patrol shift. They were sent some video on Highway 51, Commercial Street. Chris just talked about that a little bit earlier, just north of Roseland, where they do see some downed trees. So worst case scenario is you're seeing a lot of downed trees in the area, and there were some very heavy winds in that area and some power outages as well. That's the video that's posted on the Tangi Parish Sheriff's Office page, where they are reporting some very large trees that were down. We want to go to Chief Meteorologist Chris Franklin. Chris has been tracking these storms for the past couple of hours, bringing us the latest. Chris, these storms have been moving exactly as you said. They're moving very quickly through these areas, and they're packing a powerful punch, especially with the winds.
Yeah, and again, regardless of whether it was straight line winds or tornadoes, which are yet to be determined by the National Weather Service, damage is damage, and that's what we've seen a lot of steadily as these storms have rolled across Tangi Parish and now moving through St. Tammany. Good news is Washington Parish, all clear. The line is now well into Pearl River County, Poplarville getting in on some of the strong winds, as well as around Picayune. Now, we do have, at least as of right now, only 2 active tornado warnings. One that is outside of Tallahassee, so moving away from Tallahassee, and then eventually, right now, it looks like the worst of it is over the Pearl River Basin, so really no communities there. But it will be very shortly, if not already, right on the doorstep of Picayune. Switching over to the velocities, that gives us an idea of what the winds are doing. You do see kind of a small little couplet where the winds are coming away and toward the radar site, and when they're very close together, looks like Jackson Landing Road right here, we have a potential tornado that is moving into Picayune. So just to the west, here's Highway 11, here's I-59, so it is just to the west of Picayune. Picayune, you want to be in that tornado safe space immediately as that storm is moving over you. Now, once it moves beyond Picayune, it's in a little bit more of a rural area of Pearl River County. You can kind of keep an eye on it, but again, for Picayune right now, be in that tornado safe space. As far as the storm that we have been tracking in kind of the lakefront of St. Tammany Parish, there looks to be maybe a little bit of rotation right here, so moving away from Lacombe. Here's Bonfuca, E. Niles, Slidell, and while at least Slidell proper, here's Town Center in Slidell, not quite into the warned area because it looks like this may now be moving almost along 190 and then almost paralleling 12. So if this motion continues, it looks like it is taking it away from the St. Tammany, the lakefront itself, kind of south of Lacombe, and maybe right along 190, almost toward I-12 at the moment. So at least right now, there appears to be, with our 2 active tornado warnings, moving away from Lacombe and moving in the direction, again, if it stays along this path, kind of maybe toward 190 and 12 towards Slidell, and then eventually kind of in that 10, 12, 59 corridor. And then the one that is over Picayune in those areas. Slidell, you've got a few minutes. Picayune, be in that tornado safe space right now. Slidell, you've got a little bit of time, but we've been watching these little broad spin-ups. They kind of quickly pop up. Sometimes they quickly weaken, and then they almost just as fast pop back up. And trying to figure out the exact path of these, is sometimes very difficult. Sometimes you watch several passes of the radar and they're moving in one direction, and then all of a sudden they completely change direction. And that's what we're keeping a rough eye on right now with regard to the path of some of these potential tornadoes. So we've got two that we're keeping an eye on right around the Lacombe area. I'm going to switch over to the reflectivity here. So it looks like still maybe over Lacombe, kind of where 190 and LA 434 meet. So there is rotation being indicated by our radar there, as well as, I'm going to kind of pan over here, moving toward Picayune. At least the velocities look like it might be right over Picayune. Our rotation tracker algorithm is saying it's still maybe over the Pearl River Basin. Either way, in Picayune, you want to be in that tornado safe space right now. This is all, let me catch my breath here, along the leading edge of a line of thunderstorms that had been very active from central Louisiana. Really, this goes back to when it was in West Louisiana, but really started to pay attention to once it got beyond Alexandria. They stayed very active across the Florida parishes and remained strong through all of our North Shore parishes, and still doing so in our Mississippi counties. Thankfully, so far, and I'm hoping this is a trend as we go through the rest of the night tonight, is that the storms that are approaching the metro area over the over the river parishes right now do not have that severity. These are still heavy thunderstorms. You still get lightning, heavy rainfall. There is plenty of those strong straight line winds, but they don't look to be, just based on kind of the way the line of the storms on the south shore down toward the coast is aligned compared to the way they are set up on the North Shore, that it doesn't appear to be the same type of setup, where more the North Shore storms have been in that more classic setup for tornadic storms along the leading edge, and not quite as much the case for the storms along more, say, the southern end of this entire line of storms. So I'm saying that with hope that these, as they continue to push out of our Mississippi counties, this is really the only focus for additional severe weather as they move out, and that anything along the southern end of this line from the city and toward, say, the Bayou parishes shortly thereafter, and then toward the coast, don't have the severe risk that we have seen from these storms, from these storms through the rest of the night tonight.
Well, Chris, I'm taking a look at power outages while you get a second to catch your breath. Washington Parish, their power outages just jumped up to about more than 1,100 outages, about 1,200. Tangible Parish also just jumped up, and we've seen the report of trees that are down within the area of Tangible Parish. 9,500, more than 9,500 outages. We're also seeing St. Helena. We know that the storm went through there, more than 400 outages, and in Livingston Parish is more than 2,100 outages. So, of course, obviously, you have to wait to confirm whether that those were caused by tornadoes that hit the area. But we do know that the winds were powerful enough to knock down trees, and Tangible Parish Sheriff is saying that they're reporting a number of trees. Actually, our reporters are out tracking the storm and trying to follow up behind the storm. The issue that they're having, the difficulty here when you talk about the way that these storms are moving and how fast they're moving, every time they get to an area, it seems like it's already blown right through that area. Obviously, we want them to be in a safe location, and we do have Sanana McCall that we're going to check in just a second to figure out exactly where she is. But every area that they've been to so far has basically gone all the way through. So far, have not seen many pictures of any damage. I know, again, debris that's being reported, but not seeing any pictures of any structural damage. If you have those, you can send them to our number 504-529-4444. That is if you want to share any pictures in a safe way, by the way. But we are seeing more than 10,000 people without power across several parishes. Livingston mostly, and Tangible Parish, excuse me, mostly the one that's suffering the most. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but I know some people over in Tangible Parish who are still suffering from some power outages, and the storm came within 5 to 10 minutes of me being on the phone to check to make sure that they were doing okay. Right now, we do know that there are no injuries reported. We have not seen any reports of any injuries, but we do know if you are, as this storm starts to make its way towards the New Orleans metro area and New Orleans, signs. If you are concerned with the amount of rainfall that's coming our way, you are allowed to park on the neutral ground. So you can park your car there and it'll be safe until tomorrow morning. So far right now, things still looking good in our area. But Chris, you've been following this. It seems like this is moving at a pace that it's even hard for, obviously you can keep up with it because we all have the radar, but it's a difficult time for our reporters to keep up with it because it's moving so quickly.
Yeah, it's a serious situation, and we try and track exactly where these potential tornadoes are going, but there almost is a little bit of levity where you're tracking this line and almost just as fast as it moves in, a new tornado warning is issued. At one point we were tracking like 6 of them at once. It's just entirely too fast that this line is moving through, which is not a bad thing. Just get these storms out of here. And as we've been talking about, it looks like the northern end of this line, really everything that we've been dealing with on the North Shore, is going to be by far the most active part of this line, which does extend down toward the river parishes. Starting to see now a bit heavier. Now, again, it doesn't mean that we won't get some intense rains here, lightning, some gusty winds, but the way that the line on the South Shore down toward the bayou parishes, what's over the river parishes right now, the way it is elongated doesn't tend to lend itself for that quick spin up. The way the storms have been elongated on the North Shore does lend itself for more of that quick spin up, that quick rotation of the storms, and thus then tornado warnings are issued. The 2 that we still have ongoing right now, one that has been over Picayune, we've been watching this one now for a while. Almost, this has been kind of the one toward Talashiq we've been centered over. This one has been moving in the direction of Picayune. There looks to be kind of that weak, what we call the couplet right over Picayune. I'm going to switch over to the rotation indication to see what it is showing up. And it's not nearly as well defined as it was just a little while ago. So what looks to be maybe some broad rotation not showing up quite as well. It also does lend itself to show that probably St. Tammany Parish in the Pearl River Talashiq area kind of in the clear now, as what rotation could be, or what rotation is showing up, is now entirely in Pearl River County and possibly continuing toward maybe northern Hancock County. As far as the storm that we've been watching, this is one I was talking to via television, my aunt and uncle in Lewisburg, Mandeville, Lacombe, not really showing any signs from our rotation tracker. I'll switch back over to the velocities here to get an idea. And, there may be a little sign of that right here. What definitely is showing up is that we've got some very strong winds now moving into the Slidell area. Already into parts of Slidell, but we're kind of nearing just south, say, of 12 and approaching the I-10 1259 corridor. So staying south of 12, at least the way it's set up right now, around Slidell proper as it continues moving toward 190 or along 190, kind of paralleling the highway there before it ends. So if there is any rotation, which again, our rotation tracker, it's an algorithm in the radar system, not showing anything. When we switch over to the velocities, kind of weakly showing up. And then when we switch over to the reflectivity, I'm throwing all these terms out here. Reflectivity is the rainfall. The velocities, that's looking at the winds. And then we have various programs within the radar site that allow us to analyze debris, hail, rotation within the storms. And so we've got various other products that we can look at. The 2 big ones, though, are reflectivity and the winds. That's the Doppler part of Doppler radar. And so what I was showing you is what was not really showing up as a very strong indication of rotation. Definitely it is the leading edge of these storms that have had some strong winds and have had already reports of strong straight line wind damage, not necessarily within the cells that are approaching from, say, Mandeville towards Slidell at the moment, but certainly along this entire line. Still some very heavy rainfall in Pearl River, St. Tammany Parish along I-59. What had been some rotation maybe showing up looks like it's probably right over Picayune, because again, anything that's going to rotate within this within these thunderstorms will be along the leading edge. That's where you're going to find the rotation, not really embedded within the rainfall. It'll be as this initial strong wind pushes on through. That's where you're going to see the leading edge. Let's see. A new tornado warning has been issued. This is for Pearl River, Louisiana and North Slidell. Again, there's that leading edge. Let's see what the velocities show. Definitely shows kind of a little weak couplet. Hasswood, Morgan Bluff, St. Joe. There's Pearl River. To kind of center that a little bit better. You know, right here, again, not showing up bright as day as we typically see when we're analyzing these storms. But as I've said, what we have observed with this line now for the last 2 hours, 15 minutes, is that along the line, you get strong winds. You can quickly get some rotation within those. If there are any indications of kind of even broad rotation within these storms, Weather Service issues an erring on the side of caution, as they should, a tornado warning. Sometimes you hear in my voice almost an exasperation that yet another one has been issued, because these really have just been countless along this leading edge of storms as we have gone through most of this evening. Kind of interesting that we haven't seen part of this warning at least removed from St. Tammany Parish, because really the leading edge of the storm that was around Picayune is now past Picayune and out of St. Tammany Parish. Again, if you're going to see any kind of rotation, it's going to be right along that leading edge. So in St. Tammany Parish, northern Slidell, this is kind of talking about just to the north of the 10, 12, 59 corridor. So just to the north, right along 59, there is some broad rotation, or maybe tightening up a little bit. Said broad, shouldn't have said broad. Kind of a tighter rotation here showing up around what is being labeled Morgan Bluff. So if that continues on, there's Stennis, Gainesville in Pearl River, as well as Napoleon and Pearl River. So pretty shortly, once this passes I-59, then you're in the Pearl River basin, and so you don't have any communities there, and then it would continue on maybe toward Highway 607 in Pearl River, in Hancock County, as that storm pushes through. Notice we have seen the one that was for more south Slidell, south of 12. That tornado warning has expired. Charisse?
All right, Chris, thanks. We're going to check back in with Chris in a second, but we talked about our reporters that are on the ground. We continue our weather impact alert with the conditions of what's there. Sananda McCall, you can't see her, but she's riding around in our mobile forecast center. Sananda, we know that it's been difficult for you engaged to kind of follow up with some of the weather because it's moving so quickly. What have you seen so far this evening?
Thanks, Charisse. Yes, as you can tell, we have been seriously trying to chase this storm. Actually, we are actually on I-12 heading towards Slidell. Again, the storm has just been passing through the areas. We initially came out here to Tangi Parish, where we heard of the tornado warning in Amite. We got up there, we got closer to an area, it was Ponchatoula, where we actually started feeling some heavy winds on the highway. It got a little too windy to where we had to pull over. That's where we ended up, is a vacant commercial building in Ponchatoula. That's kind of where the rain started picking up as well. But then when we turned back around, trying to track the storm as it was heading toward Covington, we started to see more of the lightning. We weren't seeing too much of rain at that point, but we were seeing some vehicles still pulling over at grocery stores, at gas stations, just trying to wait out the storm or whatever was left of it. Again, we are heading towards Slidell right now. The rain is kind of picking up some. We are feeling the wind, but again, this storm has just been moving fast. We didn't notice, we took some back roads coming out towards this way. We haven't noticed any downed trees or anything. It seems like not too many cars are out right now. It seems like they're taking heed as to staying in a place that's safe right now. Lots of rain kind of in and out as we've been traveling from Tangi Parish, and then all the way coming back, we're heading back toward the area of Orleans Parish, and it's been mostly heavy, light rain, kind of on and off, just depending on where we are. Again, we noticed the lightning probably about 20 minutes ago coming out of Tangi Parish, but right now this is what the roads look like. Getting up here wasn't too crazy, except for that fact that it was extremely windy, again, to where we had to pull over. Charisse?
Sananda, you had a situation where you did have to pull over. Where exactly were you when you had to do that, and what were the conditions like during that time?
Yeah, so at that time, we pulled over. It was a commercial building in Ponchatoula. It was a totally vacant building. There was a lot of water in the parking lot. I will say that. You could tell that, I'm not exactly sure where it was draining to, but there was a lot of people actually in that area who were pulling over just because of how the water was piling up. We were kind of on an off-road. I would say we were closer to Louisiana 51 is where we were driving off of. We had gotten off of the main highway at one point, and we ended up on Louisiana 21 going toward Covington. Yeah, Charisse.
All right, Sananda, thank you so much for that update. We're going to check back in with Sananda Engage in just a second. I just want to give everyone an update on the power outages because that seems to be the main issue that we're seeing here. Power lines that are down. I'm seeing some reports of some power lines down and some power outages being reported. So please be careful if you do go outside to observe any damage that may be near your home. It looks like right now those outages in Lafourche Parish, we're seeing more parishes actually report some outages. About 1,600 outages in Lafourche Parish and more than 2,100 outages in Livingston Parish. Actually, in Orleans Parish, we're seeing almost 481 outages, and I'm actually just seeing this report from Orleans Parish where we're seeing some power outages. Point Capee, 265. St. Helena Parish, 412. St. James, 846. St. John has more than 800. St. Landry, 500, and still the #1 parish right now, Tangible Parish, is dealing with the severity of those outages, more than 9,500 and 1,400 for Washington Parish as well. So everyone is feeling somewhat of the impacts of this storm as it moves through each area. Parish by parish, they're all experiencing impacts, but so far we have not heard of anyone who could be hurt. We have not heard of anyone that could experience any structural damage. So far, we're only seeing some down power lines and down trees. We want to give Chris a second just to give us an update on where those storms stand right now, because I was shocked to see that Orleans Parish has some outages already.
Yeah, we're getting the heavy rainfall. Again, not necessarily at severe limits in the city, but you do get some gusty winds, and sometimes it doesn't take much to get those power outages or street flooding. The one that we have been tracking that was kind of moving right now over the Pearl River Basin right here, this is now a radar confirmed tornado. So here is Stennis, Napoleon, Logtown, Pearlington. It is moving generally in the direction of Logtown, Pearlington at about 30 miles an hour. So this is a radar confirmed tornado. Not necessarily that someone has actually observed it, but the data into the radar system is confirming a tornado. So we do just before this entire line moves out of St. Tammany Parish. Still an ongoing threat for now eastern St. Tammany Parish, north of Slidell. But also including now, again, kind of the Pearl River Basin at the moment. So really in St. Tammany, not affecting anyone over the basin, but once it crosses into Mississippi, then you're going to be Logtown, here's I-10, and then south of 10. So it's going to probably cross the interstate and then could move toward Pearlington. Hopefully it will follow a trajectory that will take it offshore and into the Mississippi Sound, and then not a threat for anyone else. Let's see, we have a new tornado warning for Hancock. Let me zoom out, and yeah, it's one farther north. And a pretty obvious little couplet there, which you're looking at. This is Crane Creek, Caesar Nicase Road. Does look like right here is yet another area of rotation. This is I-59, so it is well to the east of I-59, northern Hancock County. Where this one is moving at about, let me see if I can get kind of the forward speed on it here. That one is moving at, moving east at 20 miles an hour. So that's actually a little bit slower than some of the other tornadoes that we have seen earlier tonight. Kind of updating the tornado watch as, again, the line itself is moving out. Assumption, St. James, Tangipahoa, finally you folks are in the clear now. Walthall in Mississippi and Washington Parish, all removed from the tornado watch. As I said, once that leading edge has passed you, it's done. There may still be some rainfall, but it is done with regard to additional severe weather. This has been a very fast-moving line that continues to move very quickly. Again, we've seen maybe the forward progress of some of those tornadoes, the leading edge and the possible tornadoes move a little bit slower. But again, the one that has just been issued, northern Hancock County, there is that rotation within the storm itself. And then additionally, we've got the storm that is a confirmed tornado moving. We've got the one right here. So we've got kind of with not jumping out, very obvious. We've got kind of labeled Santa Rosa there once you get into Mississippi along 607, Highway 607. Now back to a tornado warning over the Pearl River County. Looking at our rotation tracker, again, I'm going to look at the last 15 minutes of this to see where it has been going and kind of get a rough idea of the path. So then it was at the Morgan Bluff area. And right now that rotation is showing up over the Pearl River Basin. So nobody there. Continues along a path as it's been kind of moving Morgan Bluff to through Morgan Bluff, North Slidell, maybe continuing, could keep it a little bit more north of Logtown, could be very, very close to I-10. Looking at the velocities, the winds of these storms, kind of a broad area. So again, looks like right now probably very close to I-10 over the Pearl River Basin. So again, there's nobody there, but you do have a very heavily trafficked roadway on I-10 and those overpasses as you cross into Mississippi. So right now, it looks like that rotation is over the Pearl River Basin. Elsewhere along this line, we do have the three now pretty much entirely in Hancock County. You got northern Hancock County, the one in central, already to the southeast of Picayune, and then the one that is moving out of the Pearl River Basin that will continue into Hancock County. Widening out, we keep those three in mind. Those are all along the leading edge of these storms. So really in Picayune, you got heavy rainfall there now. The severe risk for you has significantly dropped. Almost all of the North Shore. You've already been removed in Tangi Parish and Washington Parish for the tornado watch, almost in the clear across St. Tammany. The only exception is in Slidell now, where again, we've got a tornado warning basically from the Pearl River Basin, north, or staying north there of, and I'm sorry, I've labeled so many city named Pearlington, probably staying to the north of Pearlington as that continues. We are starting to see more of the pockets of heavy rainfall moving through the city. If these do kind of hold together here, or continue moving over the same areas, I would say based on the speed of the storms on the North Shore, there was probably a lower chance of flooding. The way these storms are projecting across the city right now, probably a greater threat for some street flooding here in the city over the next couple of hours until this entire line is gone. So I'd say the main concern south of the lake, not to say we can't see a quick little spin up for a tornado or even some strong straight line winds to cause some damage. I would say the greater risk right now for the metro area is going to be for the potential of some street flooding. We know it doesn't take much rain to get those streets to flood, and I think that may be the main concern for the metro area going forward through the night tonight. And again, this hopefully will be wrapping up in about, for much of us, within about an hour and a half or so. I think some areas will still see the rainfall, especially down toward the coast, but a lot of the severe risk already clearing out across the North Shore, and fairly soon it should be clearing our Mississippi counties. Once these again are out of Pearl River County, which they're almost entirely in eastern Pearl River County, and once these are through Hancock County in Mississippi, then that gets to be more of the Biloxi television market and then more toward Mobile. We'll still be watching the storms that will then be over the metro area moving south, but it doesn't look like those are going to have the severe threats, maybe some heavy rainfall and some minor street flooding, but I don't think they're going to have the severe threats going forward. So we'll be continuing to monitor these three areas of a tornado warned area, basically now entirely in Hancock County for the next, say, 15, 20 minutes or so. Charisse?
All right, Chris, thanks. I'm looking right now at the power outage map, and actually those power outages are more being reported in the Tangible Parish area at 10,000, more than 10,000 outages right now. And we're also seeing some reports of trees down and some damage in St. Tammany Parish. I want to go to Sanana McCall, who is riding around right now. Sanana, can you tell me exactly where you are and what you're seeing right now?
Hey, Charisse, I am on I-12 going eastbound towards Slidell, and how quickly things change in the past 5 to 10 minutes. I want to show you what we're looking at right now. It is dark and it is extremely rainy right now. We can barely see through the windshield. We actually just passed through a vehicle that had to put its flashers on. A car had to make its way safely around that vehicle. A lot of people taking it easy. We are going towards where the storm is moving. We just came from Tangipahoa Parish, where we were first alerted of a tornado warning. Over there we experienced a lot of winds. We pulled over at Ponchatoula. There it was just raining and lightning. And then we noticed that the storm was just moving quickly towards places like Covington and Slidell. When we hit Covington, the storm had already passed by that point. So we are now entering into some pretty heavy rain. We're just passing this Airport Drive exit sign. It's really getting a little crazy out here. Again, there's still people making their way, a lot of 18-wheelers, you know, they have to do business, but right now the advice is for people to stay inside. That is what we've been hearing. We heard the National Weather Service come across our radio maybe 3 to 4 times since we've been driving, and I've gotten maybe 3 to 4 alerts also on my phone, so those were separate incidents. But a lot of people, like I said, just trying to keep it safe, staying inside. As I said earlier, people were pulling over at gas stations and grocery stores to just wait out this storm. We are heading towards Slidell, where this rain is just picking up. We're trying to take it easy over here in the left lane as well. We've been seeing some lightning. Luckily, no down trees again, no down poles, but that is currently the conditions that we are noticing, Charisse.
All right, Sananda, I know that right now we are hearing from people who are saying the winds are definitely picking up in that area. We have seen some reports of trees down and maybe a bit of damage in St. Tammany, according to the St. Tammany Parish's Facebook page. Have you guys seen anything as you're driving or anything that was noticeable to you?
As of right now, no. So we are on the highway. I'm pretty sure that maybe also through some of the back streets, some of those side streets, there will be something that's down. I know that when we were going towards Tangipahoa, we did see a couple of limbs that were down. No, nothing major, but I believe that was due to some of the heavy winds that was happening in that area. So we haven't noticed anything yet. That's not to say, of course, it didn't happen. But as of right now on the highway, things are looking okay still.
All right, Sanana, thank you so much for that update. That's Sanana McCall giving you a look right now. A lot of you were asking about the Slidell area, and right now we're seeing a lot of you posting on our Facebook page and sending us emails saying that they're seeing heavy rain and winds in those areas. So far, not many power outages, very sparingly power outages that are in the area, but in Tangipahoa Parish, that is where we are seeing majority of the reports of the power outages and the majority of the damage. What I have not seen so far, which is something that I'm glad to see, are any reports of any injuries. We do know that they have some power lines that are down, so please be careful as they work. I know Entergy crews will have certainly a lot to do when it comes to the cleanup in the morning, but we do see some people who are reporting that they are experiencing power outages and downed trees. That's the most that we've seen so far. And following along with this, and Chris, we know that this is in the Slidell area, moving a little bit in the New Orleans metro area right now, but it's not going to be severe or as severe as we saw at the beginning of this evening when we were following all of those tornado warnings. Do we have those warnings? Some people asking me here, are those warnings still active? And if they are active, who should be taking shelter right now?
The ones taking shelter are those folks in Hancock County. This is almost entirely out of the North Shore parishes. You see kind of the part of the St. Tammany highlighted in that. Really, it's only including the Pearl River Basin, so there's nobody there as you exit the state. So really the issue is going to be what is now crossed into Mississippi, and we'll kind of start south and move north. Still some heavy rainfall in Slidell, but as I have said, it's the leading edge of the storms where there is a severe risk. So really from 190 down towards say I-10, so Oak Harbor, Eden Isles, east, it's done. You've still got rainfall, yes, but the severe risk is done. Slidell itself and right around the split at 12, 10, 59, it's done. It's already out of your area. The leading edge, still got some heavy rainfall, but the severe threat is gone. Going a little bit farther to the north, we have an ongoing tornado warning. You've got right along here's Highway 43. Once it crosses the highway itself, then it's done. You're north of Diamond Head, then it's crossing almost into Harrison County. Going a little bit farther north from that, almost entirely into Harrison County, is kind of the leading edge of this part of the line. Still an ongoing potential tornado. And what I'll do is I'll switch over to the velocities to see what the winds are doing. Not really showing up nearly as well defined in this far northern warning, nor is it right along Highway 43. Going a little bit farther south, maybe some indications of broad rotation around Pearlington right now, but that is not jumping out to me as anything that would be strong. Now, again, that would be the indication of a tornado. These are still associated with some very strong straight line winds. You do still have some heavy rainfall. You get a lot of lightning. Remember, what was it, just Monday with the thunderstorm over Ponchatoula? It was a nothing thunderstorm, but caused a fire. Lightning can still do damage as well, taking trees down, power lines, issues on roadways. But with regard to the tornado threat, that is starting to move almost entirely out of our area, and really the only areas that are still under that threat are right along the leading edge in Hancock County. Going back to the storms over the city, you're getting the heavy rainfall now. These thankfully, and this is really the leading edge of these storms, what are over the city right now. Des Almas, some very heavy rainfall. Luling, out toward Thibodaux, heavy to moderate rain, heavier as you get closer to Houma, and then toward Morgan City. So this is the leading edge of the southern end of the line, let's say. We can almost classify this as two separate areas. The one that crossed the North Shore and is now moving into Mississippi. That had been the far more active part of this line. What has been from over the lake, the city, river parishes, and now toward the bayou parishes have really not been severe at all. Not to say they couldn't still be, but that has not been the trend we have seen from these storms at all. And as I've also said, this is the leading edge. So if we were going to see this line become active, Thibodaux, you're just about in the clear. Gramercy, Laplace, Luling, you're in the clear. Almost out of it in Des Almas. The leading edge is pushing through the city right now, just about out of the risk of severe weather. North Shore, though, I'd say now, St. Tammany, you're out of the threat area. What is still being highlighted by this tornado warning has now already crossed and around the Pearlington area. And as far as the other warned areas in Hancock County, very rural spots that are being highlighted. Crane Creek in northeastern northeastern Hancock County still being highlighted, but when I switch over to the velocities, there just really isn't anything jumping out. Maybe a little pocket, Sellers, that are about to cross into Harrison County. And then let's go along that line again. Nothing really jumping out. I'm going to switch over to the rotation indication. Notice Crane Creek, nothing. The one that's a little bit kind of in the middle there of the county, nothing. The one that had been over Pearlington, nothing. So I really do think this line has wound down significantly as it has continued into now Hancock County, will continue into Harrison and then eventually into Jackson County, but thankfully the line itself has been weakening. What we have been watching over the South Shore, and we are now, if you're in the city, getting in on the heavy rainfall. Kind of curious if anybody's even on Bourbon Street right now. Doesn't look like it, as we're getting a couple of folks. We're getting the rain. This is kind of a moderate heavy rainfall here in the city. You got a few folks kind of dealing with it, but also notice this is the leading edge of what we're experiencing in the metro area, and the winds aren't really noticeably strong at all. So the wind element, the intensity of the rainfall is not nearly as heavy here south of the lake. Now this camera is shaking a bit. This camera is also 500 feet up in the air. Down at the surface, the winds are not nearly as strong as they are a little bit farther elevated, but certainly not the intensity of the storms on the south shore that we have experienced north of the lake, and now almost entirely away from the north shore and moving into further into Hancock County. So just over the last half hour, you see how quickly this line is moving out. Still probably another, say, 20-30 minutes for it to completely clear Hancock County. Once these storms are past Diamond Head, Bay St. Louis, and approaching Gulfport, that threat for any severe weather for our viewing area is then done. I think we're in the clear in Pearl River County, still ongoing in Hancock, and as far as the rainfall that we have here in the city and in the river parishes bayou, I think this is going to be just more of a moderate, heavy, much needed rain as we continue through the night. Keep in mind tomorrow morning, and let's do the 7-day forecast after all of this, because we do have some much nicer weather on the way. This upper disturbance is bringing with it not only some cooler air, but less humid air, and it'll really feel nice for the end of the week and going into the weekend. High temperatures tomorrow, we got into the mid-80s today. Tomorrow, we're going to start off in the 50s, less humid air moving in throughout the day, and a high of only 64 degrees. Let's move this computer over a little bit more. Then we're starting off the day in the 40s on Friday, sunny skies and a high of 73. Another cool morning on Saturday, but 77, briefly warming back into the lower 80s before another front, and no severe weather with the next front. The next front will just have with it maybe a 20-30% chance for some early morning showers on Monday, and then some chilly weather back. We're in the 40s and 50s to start Monday morning, 57. We stay in the 50s for a high Tuesday, St. Patrick's Day. And look at our morning lows on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're in the 30s, probably cold enough for a little patchy frost on the North Shore.
All right, Chris, thank you so much. I'm joined now on the phone by Tangipahoa Parish Sheriff Gerald Sticker. Sheriff Sticker, you're with us?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We've been following along on the Facebook page and getting your updates here. You have so far reportedly more than 10,000 people without power in Tangipahoa Parish. I know that there are a number of downed trees in the area. What have you seen out there?
So as of right now, I'm up in the Roseland community on Old 51, and we have trees down from up here in Roseland, down south through Amite, some into Laranja, and even down into Hammond, where there's, I guess, this band of weather that came through earlier. And so we got several down trees on roadways, and main thing, as of right now, we have no reports of property damage or injury, so that's great. Mm-hmm. But I think the main message is just ask people, if you don't have any emergency or necessity to be on the roadway, please don't go out and look around. It's dark. It is. It's the power's out, so it's pretty dark out here, and it's definitely not safe. And we do have crews, both law enforcement, we have DOTD, as well as parish government are out currently working to clear roadways.
I know that right now you said people are working to clear roadways, obviously not safe for a lot of people that are out there, but there are some people that do depend on power. Do they have any shelters open right now? Any availability for help for people?
I would, not as of right now, but I would defer that question to probably parish government, but I'm not aware of any right now. I know just as I'm sitting here talking to you, an entity truck just passed by, and so we already have power crews out, and they're working to restore power and to help clear some of these down lines and get everyone back up and running. But I don't have obviously right now an ETA on when that might be.
Yeah, no, obviously I'm looking at the pictures that you all posted. Are there any areas that are more significantly damaged than others in across Tangipahoa Parish?
I think, it's pretty spread out. Up here on the north end, Roseland, Amite, down and even to Laranja. But I think as far as down us, I think it's Range Road down in Hammond. There's trees down on that roadway, so it's pretty far-reaching. But up here, I think obviously there's a significant amount of trees down on this north end. But it is very rural And so, but we're out working, and as I'm talking, there's some crews rolling up that are checking power lines. So, everybody's working diligently to kind of, get these roadways clear and get power back on, and we'll be working throughout the night.
All right, thank you so much, Sheriff Sticker, for giving us an update on what's happening in Tangi Parish. We know that area definitely faced some significant storms in the area. Thank you so much again, Sheriff.
Thank you. You have a good night.
All right, you have a good night. And we want to go now to our reporter, Sananda McCall, who again has been driving around, following along with this storm as it goes throughout our area. Sananda, it's still raining where you are. Where are you right now?
Yes, Charisse, we are still on I-12, getting even closer to Slidell. It seems like everyone has put their flashers on. The car in front of us has its flashers on. We also have our flashers on. We've got a couple of cars behind us who have their flashers on. That's how heavy the rain is getting. Again, I was hearing you speaking with Tangi Parish just about how dark it is right now. As you can see, there's no lights. The only thing we can see are these flashers, and it kind of makes driving conditions even scarier because, we have the rain, we have the flashing lights, people trying to take it slow, and some people who are kind of trying to speed through the rain, trying to get out of it. I hope that they're being mindful because, again, people in front of them are driving a little extra cautiously, but we are experiencing, it's just heavy rain, just clouding our windshield right now. Conditions seem to not have gotten better the closer we get to Slidell. I was going through Facebook trying to see if we could find any of the areas with the downed trees. I was seeing some things about closer to Orleans Parish and Uptown, so we're actually headed out toward that way, but I don't think I was expecting for us to be hitting some of these heavy rain spots. Just our experience prior to all of this, we were kind of just getting a little bit of rain and then missing the storm, and now it seems like we're kind of in the thick of this storm right now. So we are taking things slowly. We still have about an hour back to the station, so I'm pretty sure we're going to be getting a good deal of this, Charisse.
Oh, Sananda, please be careful as you're out there. I know that there's some, these rains are not just, it's not just raining, it's also packing some really heavy winds. So be careful as you're out there on the roadways. Obviously, we see this moving a little bit closer towards Orleans Parish. We're not expecting the severity that we have seen in other areas. You heard a little bit earlier from Sheriff Gerald Sticker talking about the power outages that they're experiencing, and it's growing as I'm looking at the energy outage map right now. He says that is likely due to a lot of power lines and trees that are down. The only things that they are experiencing in Tangi Parish are trees being down in the streets, and so it's blocking obviously some roadways. So the safe thing to do here, if you have nowhere to go, or if you can help it, just try to stay home just to remain safe. When it's really dark in those areas, you're talking about a really rural community. If it's dark in those areas, it's difficult to drive around, especially when you have trees that are down. Also, he said that there's no structural damage. This is the good news, no structural damage, and there are no reports of any injuries, and that is something that we want to keep that way. We can only do that if everyone stays home and stays safe. In the meantime, if you happen to have any pictures of the damage and you can safely take a picture to send to WWL Louisiana, send it to the number 504-529-4444. We're going to share your picture on air so that we can show people just the extent of the damage that we're seeing right there. But again, those storms, Chris has been talking about this for a few hours. They have been moving throughout the area, starting really in St. Helena Parish, moving on through. We had tornado warnings that, if I'm not mistaken, some of the tornado warnings are still active. And Chris, actually, no, we may not be having it. They may not be active.
They were all expired. There was one left. The couple that were set to expire at 10:45, they were allowed to expire. The one that we had been watching, kind of an extreme northeastern Hancock County, that was set to expire at 11:15, but as we kept looking at it, there really wasn't anything showing up with regard to rotation. Let me kind of move the computer out of here now. With regard to rotation, so that was allowed to expire. What it looks like is that the rotation that we were at one time fearing kind of along that entire boundary, now moving into Mississippi, is not really showing up. The rotation threat looks like that has wound down. So So what you now see is a severe thunderstorm warning issued for basically coastal Mississippi and then extending right to the Mississippi-Alabama line. So it looks like the main threat going forward for Hancock County and then into Harrison, Jackson will be for some strong winds, maybe some hail, though that really has not been too much of an issue, but it really looks to be more of a wind issue with regard to the threat level and not as much the spin-up tornado threat. That is where the threat of any real severe storms have been with regard to the wind and the tornadoes. Now, still get some heavy rainfall, but we have seen on the South Shore, and we still have some areas of heavy rainfall here, and down toward Thibodaux, Morgan City has not been anything severe. So I would say while we will still get rain through the next several hours into the night, the severe risk is winding down now.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for that update. We're glad to see that we got through this without anyone being hurt or being injured anywhere in these during these storms. All right, we're going to continue to follow along with this on our website, WWLTV.com. Of course, if you see, again, any pictures, you can send them to 504-529-4444. WWL Louisiana News at 5 a.m. Our morning news is going to pick up our coverage in the morning to see if, what the outcome of this looks like in the daylight. For now, we're going to end our coverage here. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here in the morning.